what's going on? Hey, it's Tom from Thrive Drumming at thrivedrumming.com. And this is the fourth video in a series of free lessons that I'm offering that are for beginners. We started off with how to hold the sticks, then how to make a sound, different types of sounds. And today, in our fourth video, we're going to talk about using the pedals, okay, the bass drum pedal and the hi-hat pedal. All right, we're just going to go over basic technique, and I want to show you 3 motions with each foot, and we're going to jump right in. First of all, let's discuss how to sit behind the drum kit. So I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to take a seat, just like as if I were going to sit down anywhere. So you notice when I sat down, I didn't sit down like this. I didn't cross my legs, and I'm not lying flat, okay? So I'm sitting. And naturally, when we sit, there is a little bit of a leg spread here, okay? And what we're getting at is that for those of you that have been playing for a while, we see so many drummers that sit, but put this leg in and the bass drum straight in front of them. And a lot of times over years, you can develop some hip issues because you're playing at a wrong angle. That's not how we sit. We sit this way, and we want to consider putting both pedals naturally where our feet fall. So under this foot should be the hi-hat pedal, and under this foot should be the bass drum, which affects the orientation of that bass drum. The bass drum doesn't really need to be straight in front of us. It's often better for us physically to have the bass drum offset to the right, just like this V, okay? And then our hi-hat is also offset. All right, so let me swing back around. Ta-da. And we're going to talk about the position, the closeness to the drum. You want to maintain a nice straight back, and you don't want to feel like you're reaching back to hit the drum, and you don't want to feel like you're reaching too far forward to hit your snare drum. If you have your arms just nice and loose down by your side, as we discussed when I had the snare drum raised and I was standing behind it, my arms are nice and relaxed, my shoulders are relaxed, and by doing so, when I'm holding the sticks, the drumsticks, the tip of the drumstick just naturally falls into the center of the drum. And that also helps affect the angles of my legs, believe it or not. Okay, because if I'm too far forward, what's going to happen is you're going to bring your thigh down to your ankle. You're going to get this type of angle. Okay, and we don't want that. We either want it more towards straight position or even out a little bit to take a little pressure off your ankle. And talking about the knee and the hip all the way to your hip socket, you'll see many people that sit low and they actually have their hip, their thigh, the angle is going down. And over time, again, that puts a lot of stress on your hips and on your lower back. And it's more advisable by almost everybody that you raise yourself up, raise your seat up so that actually you have a little bit more angle like this right here, where your thigh is elevated and your foot is out a little bit. So something that should look like that, okay? So being seated properly will affect the way your feet can work and operate. It's going to allow them to have, just like with your wrist, range of motion. You're going to have better range of motion with your ankles. You want this foot to be able to come up and down freely and feel not like it's limited or restricted by being too far back or too far forward, okay? And let's discuss the bass drum stroke right now. Let's start off with our first stroke, which is going to be the heels down. Heel is down on the floor. And we can look at the pedal and see that we have a footboard. Right here's our footboard. We have a beater. And what happens when we depress the footboard, due to the fact that it's all connected here, I'm not going to go into all the parts, it moves the beater forward. It makes contact with the drum head. And of course, we're going to want to play again, so we have to release our foot, and there is a spring that's attached that allows the beater to come back. But you also have to make your foot travel back. It's not enough strength to push your foot up. The spring does move the beater, but if you don't bring your foot back with it, it will not come back. Okay, because if I just stop here, that's it. So I have to bring my foot back. And again, we're talking about heel down. So what I'm going to do in my motion is allow the beater to travel forward, strike the drum, and release my foot back up so that the pedal can come back for our next adventure, because we want to hit it again. All right, so the motion altogether is going to look like this. Okay, there we go. So that is heel down. And we're really not going to focus on speed at all today. We're just talking about the actual motion that we make and the position of ourselves and our feet. Okay, let's talk about the foot on the footboard. I like to keep the ball of my foot right under here, the widest part of your shoe. I like to keep that about where generally a lot of the bass drum pedal manufacturers have their logo. A lot of times their footboard is also shaped so that the widest part of your foot is generally going to sit right on it. I don't want to be too far forward. I don't want to get my foot pinched up in the brackets on the side. I need to keep it down a little bit, and I'm going to have my heel. For me, my foot doesn't exactly fit on this, so it's going to hang back a little bit. And this way, I feel I get the best action out of it. Okay, so again, heel down. Okay, let's move on to our second type of motion. So we have heel down, and we're going to do exactly the opposite. We're going to raise our heel up. And this is why it becomes important that you don't have too low of an angle with your thigh, because then if you raise it up, it's going to make it even a more severe angle. Okay, because as your shin and your calf come up, when you raise, then your thigh is going to go down, because we're not raising our whole body up, we're just raising from here. Okay, so because I'm going to raise my heel up, part of my foot is already elevated. So you're like, well, how do I play the bass drum? Well, we're going to lift our leg, and now the pedal's back, and we're going to depress the pedal from this position, strike the head, and again, relax. One way to relax is to let the heel come down. Okay, so it's kind of a hit and drop. Raise, hit, drop. Or you could keep it elevated. And you just need to release your foot far enough so, and I'm staying at the same point on the pedal, but I'm allowing the beater to come back. Okay, and the third type of motion is basically still heel up, but I'm going to keep my foot more of in the flatter position, and I'm going to kind of stomp on the pedal. Some people might refer to it as I'm kicking it. Or sometimes even heel toe, because my heel and my toe are both involved. I'm using my toe and my heel, meaning that it's flat. Okay, now, so there's the motions. Let's just do 8 strokes with each, and I'll stop between each one. And I'm going to put the metronome on very slowly and do this nice and evenly. Metronome is set at 60 beats per minute.
1, 2, 3.
Heel down.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good. And now heel up. 2, 3, 4. All right, and now I'm going to use my foot flat and stomp. 3, 4. Okay, there we go. So there's all three different motions. We'll come back at the end. We'll come back and circle around, and we'll use these different methods in a drum beat. Okay, let's talk about the hi-hat foot. So my hi-hat foot is over here. We've got another camera on it. So if you're looking over here, I do have another camera, and I will make sure you see that. So we're going to use the same three motions. We're going to do heel down. And first of all, let's talk about the hi-hat, how it operates. So it's not a pedal in a beater that's moving or springing a beater forward to hit something. The base plate, the foot plate of the hi-hat is attached to a rod that's the whole length of the stand. And when you bring down the foot plate, it brings down the rod, and it's connected to your top cymbal, your top hi-hat. And as long as you have the clutch tight and you leave a gap here, you're going to close the hi-hat. Let's make it wider, okay? And I'm going to depress my foot and close it. Now I could also, if I release my foot, I could make it splash. In general, what we do with a hi-hat is we close it. So that means we're going to hit with our foot and leave it down. And I'm using a heel down stroke, okay? You can say, well, that kind of makes sort of a weak sound. So to make it stronger, after we hit, we're going to rock our foot up, actually putting a little pressure. So it's a rocking motion. And I'm striking down with the front of my foot and picking up, raising my calf from here, raising the heel up afterwards, and it makes it a more aggressive chick. If I didn't do that, and I just went straight down and let it come back, I would get this splashing sound. So we're going to use heel down and rock the ankle, the heel up. So toes first, heel. And that tighter chick sound is important when you incorporate it into a groove. All right, so let's move on to heel up. A lot of times we'll use our heel up just like we would on the bass drum if we're playing something with a lot of repeated hi-hat notes that are in a rhythmic pattern, like straight quarter notes or just 2 and 4, and in higher octane music like rock, heavy metal. So where we're going to play a more aggressive style. So my heel is up, it stays up, and I'm just raising from my kneecap, raising the thigh, and coming down in a steady rhythm. I can play quarter notes, 2, 3, 4, and. I can play eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when I'm done, I want to relax that foot because I just gave it a good workout. All right, and finally, yes, you can use the kind of stomping motion. It's a good way to get that splash because I'm kind of kicking the back of the base of the pedal in a stomp. And that's kind of a rocking where I'm allowing the heel to hit the back of the pedal and then kind of keeping my toes up. And if you put that together with a forward close with your heel down, that's how you get open splash. It takes a lot of work. It's something I'm continuing to improve on. Okay, so there we go. There are the both basic strokes. And one last stroke with the bass drum, and that is keeping the beater against the head, which we use basically for a nice tight bass drum, punchy bass drum sound. We don't always use it. Some players use it all the time. Other players don't use it at all. I like to have it in my arsenal, so when I want that type of sound, I have it. So that basically is heel up and I'm going to let the beater hit the head and keep it there. So I'm not allowing it to be released. And so generally when you're playing some grooves that maybe have less activity in the bass drum, maybe you're just playing beat 1, beat 3, or maybe a dotted rhythm, dotted quarter, eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it works well. Or just straight quarters, or every other beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, little demonstration. We're going to keep the hi-hat with the chick sound closed, and we're going to put that on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to show the bass drum with heel down, and I'm going to play beats 1 and 3, and I'm going to allow the beater to come back. After a couple measures, I'm going to switch over to beater against the head, keeping the beater in the head. And I'm going to play on the rim. I'm going to play eighth notes, my right hand, and 2 and 4 over here. Nice and slow.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay? There we go. So that's a quick demonstration. Let's just raise the tempo up so we hear a better groove. So I'm going to move up my metronome. Let's put it at 92.
1, 2.
Same
3,
exercise.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so there's our introductory demonstration on using the pedals. In our next video, we're going to move to the full drum set, and we're going to talk about arranging your drums in a nice, comfortable position, being able to reach all of them, playing the cymbals, and we'll put together that same beat on the drum set and really make it rock out. All right, thank you for watching, and please come back and watch the final free lesson. Thank you very much.